We're there. We are in there like swimwear. Noah Lyles, your move, baby. Your move. We don't do silver over here. Just go, baby. Silver and gold. We're there. I'm ready for it. Let's go. I mean, I don't even know how to start this. We were going to originally just talk about the Chicago Bears today, but of course, we had to wait for a Stephen Wardell Curry masterclass. Steph Curry does what he does best, wins the gold for the United States against France. Victor Wembanyama, Rudy, COVID Gobert, get the fuck out of here. It's over. USA doing their thing. Le Captain America, Kevin Durant, and the boys got the gold. Shout out to him. Just want to give some love really quick. Obviously, we're talking Bears tonight, so we do not really care about what's going on, anything other than the Chicago Bears, but had to represent, had to show what's up. I mean, Stephen Curry, masterclass. So you love to see it. Shout out to him. Shout out Team USA. Women's basketball tomorrow. Kalia Copper and the Dogs are hopefully going to be getting gold as well to be able to reunite with the men's side and celebrate winning gold for the United States. So with that being said, we are back. We are better than ever. Welcome to the Give Us a Shot Network. I am Mike Hughes, a.k.a. The Shy Kid. You are listening to the Shy Kid podcast. That was a very long-winded speech about Team USA that probably wasn't very good, but I wanted to give my respect to the greatest shooter of all time, Steph Curry, doing his thing. I'm going to continue to meat ride him because, I mean, what a performance. There's no other way to put into words what we just witnessed, potentially the last time we see Steph Curry and LeBron James in the Olympics. For Curry to finally get a gold medal is incredible. To do that with his coach and Steve Kerr, you'll love to see it. And Dylan says in the comments, breaking news, great transition. The Chicago Bears might just have a quarterback. And man, what a phenomenal day it was. Obviously, it's preseason, ladies and gentlemen. It is just preseason, so we're not taking too much stock into this right now. Never too high, never too low, kind of just right in the middle. You know, you hope to see improvement, you hope to see development, but you're not really worried about the wins and losses unless you're Matt Eberflus, because the man is like Jordan in game 6 when it comes to game 1 of preseasons. He's undefeated as the Chicago Bears head coach. I mean, I believe the first time was against the first time that was Matt Nagy still head coach when we played the Kansas City Chiefs, if I'm not mistaken, and the Bears won that game. So it was Justin Fields versus Patrick Mahomes, if I'm not mistaken, and that was a pretty cool game. I believe last year our first game in the preseason was against the Buffalo Bills again, if I'm not mistaken. But let's get into it, man. Let's have a real conversation. Let's break down what we saw today. There's so much that goes into this. There's so many different storylines for the Chicago Bears. We're going to do our top 3 takeaways of the game. Now, first and foremost, we're going to talk about Caleb Williams. Obviously, 101 quarterback rating in this game. He plays the entire first quarter for the most part. Unless there's not a long drive to end the game, to end the first quarter for the Buffalo Bills, we probably would have saw Caleb again. But he goes 4 for 7 with 95 passing yards, 1 rush for 13 yards, which is a great rush, great scramble for him. He knew when the slide, I guess the slip and slide is doing wonders from Hard Knocks. So that's really cool to see. But really for me, what we saw from Caleb Williams in this game was a poised quarterback in the pocket, somebody who is willing to, wait for the plays to come to him. A lot of guys, especially in their rookie year, are going to go out there and they're going to try to make plays happen. Caleb makes plays happen, but he's not going out of his way to try to force something. And I think that's what I really like seeing from him today. Had a great ball to DJ Moore, who had over 20 yards and 2 receptions on the day. Obviously, Cole Kmet, Pettis, and DeAndre Swift were leading the charge today from a receiving perspective. If we're going to get into the receiving yards really quickly, let's look at it. DeAndre Swift had 1 reception for 42 yards, a pass from Caleb Williams, we're going to get into that in a little. Dante Pettis, who had a couple bad instances today where I think he was kind of miscommunication wise. I think there was just a lot of miscues for the offense. Dante Pettis was a huge part of that, especially with Brett Rippon. But he had 1 reception for 34 yards. Tight end Sweeney, who I think is potentially going to make this team without a doubt, 2 receptions for 29 yards. DJ Moore, 2 for 27. Cole Kmet, 1 for 26. Great throw from Tyson Bagent. Carlson, 3 for 18. Bates, 1 for 16. And Webster, 1 for 10. But with that being said, man, there's a lot of different ways we can look at this right now. My biggest takeaway, number 1, again, we're going to talk about it again. We're going to continue to use the word poised. I think that's, people's favorite word to use when you're describing a quarterback, but how many of them actually, have those traits, have those characteristics of being able to just be poised in the pocket and being the best versions of themselves when it's coming down to critical situations. What I love from Caleb, especially in that reception to DeAndre Swift, the 42-yard reception, it was, first of all, great run by DeAndre Swift, and great to really see Caleb in that whole scuffle, because he could have just gave up on the play, but he stayed with it. it. Caleb Williams sees the pocket collapsing in front of him and he doesn't give up on the play. He's able to stay poised. He's calm, collected. He's cool. He's just doing his thing. And then what looks, you can kind of see he sees Swift in the corner of his eye. I'm not going to say it's a no look pass, but he's definitely not looking in Swift's vicinity, across the arm. It was an amazing throw, no look pass, if you will. It was an incredible play. So I think I love to see that from him, to really just go out there and have Patrick Mahomes-esque type plays. I'm not saying he's Patrick Mahomes. Everybody in the comments can get off me. But it definitely gives you that vibe that, okay, this kid's different. This kid's something special. I mean, when you're doing it in practice, it's one thing, but when you're doing it in a game, especially with the pocket collapsing in real time and guys actually coming for your head, it definitely does speak volumes. So I loved what we saw. I think that was a great play. Again, I want to say shout out to DeAndre Swift for not only giving up on that, or not giving up on that play, but getting a lot of gaining yards out of it. I mean, he got 42 yards out of that run, where, another back on this roster like Roschon Johnson, Khalil Herbert probably would have got 15 to 20. So shout out to him. That was an amazing play. I loved what we saw from there. A poised Caleb Williams, a guy who was understanding of the moment, knows that this is his time. Obviously, Hard Knocks said, he's got the potential of the next Michael Jordan of Chicago sports. So there's a lot of pressure to that, especially when you hear those kind of criticisms. Now, I will say this. It is kind of crazy to hear those things like Chris Bryant and Derrick Rose and Patrick Kane and Connor Bedard haven't all come before him. And that's no shot at Caleb Williams, but it's like, okay, we're gonna act like he's the first guy someone said this about. You know what I mean? I remember when people used to say that Derrick Rose was going to be the next Michael Jordan. And then obviously Chris Bryant with the Chicago Cubs and Connor Bedard just getting drafted, Patrick Kane. There's a lot of guys who have come in these shoes. And again, they're big shoes to fill, potentially the biggest shoes of all. But with that being said, Caleb had a great performance today. I didn't really see any missed opportunities. I didn't really see him checking down or really just giving up on plays. He was, staying true to what the play design was. He wasn't getting miscued. He wasn't getting confused at all. I loved what we saw. He was reading the defense pretty well. One thing I will say is, with Keenan Allen and DJ Moore both being in this game, you kind of hope to see a little bit of just the deep ball. Let them sling that thing, man. And I saw we were running the ball a little bit more with Caleb in those drives. I kind of felt like they were letting Tyson Bagent throw the ball a little bit more than Caleb Williams. But maybe that's, we talk about that a lot about, not giving up anything throughout the Hall of Fame game and throughout, obviously, preseason. So you're not trying to give up too much of what you're going to run with Caleb Williams this year. So I think they're being safe about it. They're trying to make sure, he's getting after it. One quarter, 95 yards. I mean, sometimes it took Justin Fields 3 quarters to get 95 yards. So we're off to a good start. I like what we saw. From a rushing perspective for the Chicago Bears today, you're looking at Wheeler, who had 5 carries for 43 yards and 2 touchdowns, his first NFL career touchdown. Shout out to him. Velus Jones Jr., who just got moved to the running back position the beginning of this past week, 6 carries for 34 yards and 1 rushing touchdown. So shout out to him. He's fighting for a roster spot right now, trying to prove that he belongs. Khalil Herbert, 9 carries for 31 yards. Homer, 4 for 18. Caleb Williams, 1 rush for 13 yards. DeAndre Swift, 1 for 3. Reed had 2 for 0. Bagent, 1 for 0. And Felton had 1 for -1. But with that being said, man, there's a lot of different conversations, a lot of different storylines. My number one takeaway, like I said, is Caleb Williams, how he remained poised in the pocket. But number 2, I look at what we saw from Austin Booker today. I think it's really important. You're looking at 3 hits on the quarterback, 2.5 sacks, 2 what was it? He had 2 something tackles for loss, 2 tackles for loss, and 5 tackles. So you love to see that. You know what I mean? This is a 5th round pick. Potentially somebody who could find his way being alongside Montez Sweat for the foreseeable future. Out of Kansas State, you love to see a guy like that really get an opportunity. Now, a 5th round pick, is he going to be a premier pass rusher in his rookie year? That is yet to remain to be seen, but 2.5 sacks in his debut definitely does make me optimistic that maybe we could potentially have another guy to coincide with Montez Sweat for the foreseeable future, because obviously, like we said, Yannick Ngakoue is still a free agent right now. DeMarcus Walker really just isn't that guy. for the future, at least. He's currently on the squad, but what's that even going to look like? By week 9, by week 10. So I loved that. I loved what we saw from Walker, or not Walker. I loved what we saw from Austin Booker. He's somebody that I think can be very special for this Bears organization. This is somebody that I think a lot of people thought could have potentially been a day 2 pick, a second round, third round pick potentially. He falls to the 5th round, obviously, because he's young and he doesn't play as much in his collegiate career. But this is a guy who didn't start the majority of his collegiate career, so that's definitely probably one of the reasons why he falls as far as he does. But if we can get something out of him, you know what I mean? Even if you're an average to slightly below average, pass rusher, I think that's a gift, especially in the 5th round. If he can be anything more than that, I think the Chicago Bears defense is going to be a serious problem. If Austin Booker goes from average, below average to above average play, even whether it's this year or not, whether it's 2 years from now, 3 years from now, whether it's this season as a whole, it's going to be really interesting. For anybody in the comments, the Chicago Bears won this game 33-6, dominated. And my third biggest takeaway, and I know a lot of people might not agree with this, I think Tyson Bagent is making a case to be one of the better backup quarterbacks in the entire NFL. And I know that's like he still hasn't earned that quite yet. But I think 2 to 3 years from now, Tyson Bagent might be able to make some serious money as one of the highest paid backups in the league. That's just how I personally feel. And I'm not talking about like a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo who got paid as a starter and ended up being a backup. I'm talking like this is a Chase Daniel, Ryan Fitzpatrick caliber player. This is somebody who's going to always be a backup for the majority of his career, maybe fight for some starts here and there, be a training camp warrior, really just be a sponge to whatever, scheme he's in, whatever organization he's with. I love Tyson Bagent. We saw a couple of great throws from him today with Cole Kmet down the right-hand side. I think Tyson's really going to be one of those guys that is going to be huge for the culture of the Chicago Bears locker room, huge for Caleb Williams and his development as well, to kind of just continue that grit and grind, that toughness that you want to see. So I loved it. I loved what we saw from Tyson. I think it's cool. I think it's cool. I think Tyson is going to be that guy. So that was my big top 3 takeaways from today's game. Obviously Caleb Williams, Austin Booker, and Tyson Bagent. But there were also notables as well. I think DeAndre Swift had a solid game. DJ Moore and Keenan Allen on the sideline. Best friends. They're best friends. Go check out that video right now. If you haven't subscribed to the TikTok, make sure you hit that follow button. We're coming up on 95,000 followers, which is crazy. We're about 6,000 followers away from 100. So it's an absolute blessing. And I appreciate everybody who's tuned in, everybody who's joined the community, because we're going to be doing Bears content all year long. So make sure to follow the shy.kid on TikTok. But with that being said, man, we kind of sat down and got a chance to see Mitch Trubisky again. We got a chance to see Trubisky, man. And I think it's really crazy to me. Looking back on it, I know we talk about this all the time. We're beating a dead horse at this point, but I think when you have that conversation of, okay, well, the Bears drafted Justin Fields in 2021, and that made sense. It made sense at the time. It makes sense now. Obviously, it didn't work out. But when you really look back on it and you see Mitch Trubisky, former number 2 overall pick of the Chicago Bears, going up against Caleb Williams, the current number 1 overall pick of the Bears, it's nowhere near the same, man. Like, I can't believe I used to sell myself and buy myself into believing that Mitch Trubisky could be that guy. And I think that was like, you watch him today, and again, he just takes the hope out of you. Like, he drives the ball all the way down the field. He's great. He's putting the ball in pockets. He's hitting windows. He's getting guys in stride. He's being the best version of himself. Then he gets in the end zone. He gets in the red zone and he's like, all right, here we go. And he can't convert. And he's literally overthrowing guys. He's literally underthrowing. He's just making bad reads. I mean, it's crazy to think that it's been this long. Mitch Trubisky just still hasn't been able to figure it out. And I think, we talked about Tyson Bagent. Tyson Bagent, to me, in the last year and a half is already better than Mitchell Trubisky. You know what I mean? And I understand Trubisky had that 2018 Pro Bowl alternate, but come on, I'm not throwing stock into that. Tyson Bagent won 2 games for one of the worst offenses in football in the Chicago Bears. He won the Bears their first game in over 365 games. I believe, was that against Vegas? I forget who it was. But yeah, like it's crazy to watch Trubisky really just the downfall, because at first I'm like, oh, it was Nagy, it was Matt Nagy, this and that. But as you've seen with the Steelers organization and now twice with the Buffalo Bills, it's like, yeah, I mean, what at this point, man, like it's just you. So, it was great to see Mitch again. We got to see a little bit of Josh Allen in the beginning of this game. I actually got to talk to Germ. And I was like, man, I didn't expect him to be in this game. Like I didn't, I don't know. I thought personally, like guys like Mahomes, guys like Aaron Rodgers, guys like Josh Allen aren't going to play in preseason games. It just doesn't make sense. But I guess it does make sense when you have an entire new offense and you're trying to get reps with them. Obviously, you have Coleman and company, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens with a guy like Josh Allen. Obviously, he led the league for quarterbacks and rushing touchdowns last year with, I believe, 15, if I'm not mistaken. So without Stephon Diggs, without all these other guys, you might see Josh Allen be one of the more valuable fantasy quarterbacks just because he's going to start running the ball again like we saw back in 2018. But, obviously he's not coming out of Wyoming now. He's a seasoned NFL vet, an MVP candidate. So he's not going to be turning over the ball as much, hopefully. I still see him throwing over 250 a game. You know what I mean? Josh Allen's one of those guys, kind of like Jay Cutler. Like you're gonna get your numbers, and that's not a comparison between the two. Even though I do think Josh Allen is a more athletic Jay Cutler. But I think it's going to be interesting to see what the Buffalo Bills do, how they respond, how they get better. It's going to be cool, man. But I loved what we saw today. I'm trying to read the chat right now, see if anybody else had any other opinions on today's game. Before I head out of here, I gotta go. We're going on a trip. But it's cool. It's cool to see them really go after it. It's cool to really see, how you're going to see this team continue to grow, continue to develop, and get better every single day. I think it's great. I think it's great for the game. I think it's great for, what we're going to see the Bears continue to do. And hopefully that's win football games. And, I think at the end of the day, this is, like I said, never too high, never too low. We're just going to remain consistent and try to be better. There's no real telling of when things are going to click for Caleb Williams. There's no real telling of what kind of season he's going to have. You just kind of got to let it play out. You got to let it fly. You got to let it rip. Because honestly, I mean, he can throw 300 yards in the first quarter and you're still kind of like, yeah, it's a preseason game. You know what I mean? And 300 is a stretch, but you know what I mean? Like you throw 95 yards, 4 for 7, didn't get in the end zone, didn't get in the red zone at all. But I liked what we saw. Obviously, we're not going to chew your ear off today with a bunch of nonsense. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. Appreciate you guys being here, always checking us out. Until then, make sure you hit that follow button, follow us, hit the link in the bio below for all Give Us a Shot Network episodes, whether that's stuff about sports, Protect Our Queens, the Divide, or the Shy Kid podcast, and so much more. Pack a Punch, the Packers podcast is also here as well, hosted by Dwayne Marcus. We got a lot of stuff going on all season long, NFL related. Again, shout out to the boys getting gold. Shout out Steph Curry. Shout out LeBron James, Captain America himself. They brought it home. So like I said, Lyles, balls in your court, baby. But yeah, man, appreciate you guys being here. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Until the next one, this is Mike Hughes, aka the Shy Kid. You are listening to the Shy Kid podcast. Peace.
Give them a shot to do what?